This shit's fire.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Heist podcast. I'm here with two special guests. We're going to be talking about different topics ranging from music to personal life and any message they have to convey to any people listening or watching this. So my co-host right here to my right, I'll do the barber. And I'm going to have you guys introduce yourself, man. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me, for real. I go by the name Vision. I'm 21 years old from Hollister, California, and I am a hip-hop artist.
Dope.
Yeah, my name's Adrian Perez. I'm a boy's producer and from Hollister, California as well.
Definitely, bro. I always enjoy, interviewing artists because I like to talk about the creative process.
Yeah. That's
very, really close to like life, man. Because there's a lot of metaphors that you can use from the creative process and apply them to life. So,
yeah.
My first question, bro, pretty basic, is how'd you start with music? Like, where was what initiated everything?
Yeah, man. So, I mean, music has always been like a huge thing for me. Like, I remember like playing like Call of Duty and shit. Like, even when we were just playing video games, like we were listening to music in the background. You know what I mean? When I was like skating, I'd always had like music in my
listening to music.
Yeah,
all the
exactly.
time.
Just listening to music, man. But when it really started was I found my sister's old like keyboard at like the top of like my closet, and then I was like, oh, okay, like I'll pull this down, and then I just started like just messing around on it, and then I looked up like how to play songs on YouTube, and then I was just like, oh, cool. So then I learned how to play instruments, and then through that I really like started not just listening to music but kind of like experiencing it and like feeling it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then through that, I found hip hop, started listening to like all this different stuff, and I started writing my own.
So do you feel like while listening to that music, like you said, you were feeling it?
Mm-hmm.
Was there certain situations in your life that would make you feel it more, or like you listen to specific music for specific situations?
Yeah, 100%. Like when you're in like a certain type of mood, a certain type of music hits. You know what I mean? So like before, when I was in like middle school, you know what I mean? It was like, oh, the world sucks. Out here listening to like Good Charlotte and shit. You know what I mean? Like some like crazy like dark kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
More dark.
Exactly. But you know what I mean? When you're feeling happy, you can throw on, say something like Mac Miller's old stuff, where it's just like super fun,
uplifting,
happy. You know what I mean? Exactly.
More
so,
up-tempo beats.
Yeah, it just really depends on like the mood and stuff. But there's music for every type of mood. You know what I mean? So
was that the same kind of thing for you, Adrian, when you started making music? Because I mean, as a producer, you listen to music for inspiration, right?
Yeah.
Now, how did you get into making beats, like, and finally making like your own type of beats?
Yeah, well, I started beats probably like actual beats, like actual producing was like high school, probably my junior year. That's when I really got like I downloaded Fruity Loops, it's like a free software. Yeah. So I was just messing around on that, but like my dad, he used to bring his laptop home from work, and there's an Apple, so it had GarageBand on it, and mm-hmm. He's always been into music, so he would like to mess around with the loops that they have on there, and so he'd make stuff, and then from there, like that's how I originally got into it, and that was like way back.
That was high school, right?
Yeah, no, high school I was like making Fruity Loops, but GarageBand that was like elementary school.
Oh,
but
wow.
It was just loops though, it wasn't even like beats, so it's just like dragging like already pre-made stuff just together, and I just like to mess around, but music's always been like a big part of my life. Like I've always played instruments, always did stuff like
Was
that.
it very similar to him, where you would listen to certain music depending on the mood?
Yeah, all the time, yeah, man. You're like he said, like middle school, like you're always kind of like, you go through that weird phase, and you go through a weird phase, so like I would listen to a lot of like old 90s grunge music, like a lot of sad stuff, like Nirvana, like the Strokes a lot, even though they're not grunge, but you know, like I would listen to like older music, sad music, just kind of
definitely. As for you though, like from a creative standpoint, how do you see yourself from your first song you ever made to now? I know you just dropped a mixtape.
Yes.
Very good mixtape.
Thank you, appreciate that.
And how do you kind of explain in short your story from your first song to now? And I want you to talk more about your mentality about your
100%.
approach to it.
So it's a journey, 100%. Like when you first start out, like I started out just for fun, you know what I mean? Like as a hobby, like I was just like writing raps. I was like, cool, you know what I mean? Until I started really doing it and like showing people, you know what I mean? And then people were like, oh, like you're actually good at this. I wasn't good, you know what I mean? But it was better than most people just starting out. You know what I mean? Like people were like, they saw the potential. They were like, oh, you have talent. And I was like, oh, okay. So I mean, I just kept doing it just because it was fun, you know? Mm-hmm. And then So to answer your question, the first song that I wrote, it was just like super basic rhymes, you know, but I was on flow, like I was keeping a rhythm and all that stuff.
Yeah.
People saw that. I mean, I kept advancing and stuff, like really studying the art form, studying different artists and their lyrics, their wordplay, like all that different stuff. And then it kind of led to me being able to do that on my own. You know, like when you study it, like I prep myself in the morning, 100%. So it's like when I wake up, I listen to like say something like Big L or like Nas, Tribe Called Quest, like something like with lyricism, and then I'll be able to like kind of use that throughout the whole day. If I don't prep myself in the morning, it's kind of difficult to do that throughout the day. But I would basically just go over lyrics and stuff, and over the years, it was just a lot easier to be able to do that on my own.
Yeah.
Like I said, the first track was like super basic, super simple. Now it's over here like with like Eminem type flows or like Big L lyricism, just like stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it's a journey though. 100%. It takes time.
Mentally, how do you explain your self-confidence, man? Because I feel at times, how do you deal with, you know, you're in the studio, you just lay down some bars, you know you can do better.
Yeah.
But to someone else it might sound good. Like, how do you do it? And then vice versa though. Sometimes, have you ever felt scared releasing music because damn, I don't want to release this. This is not good.
So
I'm scared of what people are gonna tell me.
So that was how it was in the
that.
beginning. So before, like I didn't tell anybody that I even made music for like the first like 4 or 5 years of me making music. You know what I mean? Only like my close friends and family knew that I made music. I released it like, what was it, like the last day of senior year, and I was like, boom. Yeah, I was like, I made a graduation track like for everybody in my class. I dropped it, and then everyone was like, "Oh snap, this dude raps!"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was so dope, and they played the graduation track as we were walking out to the field, which was dope. Like on the speakers, I was like, "Oh shit!" Yeah, I was like, "We blowing up." But my bad. What was the question? I completely
My question
forgot.
is just more like the mental part on the confidence, bro. Because
Right.
I feel being an artist and in anything honestly in life, we're very scared of criticism.
Yeah.
Because we're not living up to our full potential.
Right.
So I want you to discuss the mentality part and how you grew the confidence.
So yeah, I mean, I just kind of had to start not giving a shit. You know what I mean? Because before I was like, oh, like what are people gonna think? You know what I mean? All this stuff. But that's why I didn't show anyone, because I was like, if I can gain the confidence by myself and then put it out, then I mean, I know that I'm good. So it's like, it doesn't matter if that person says that I suck. I'm like, nah, I don't. You know what I mean? Because I know that. So it was kind of my own mentality, you know what I mean? And getting in my own head and just making myself more confident in that sense. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Is there anything you want to add? I want to ask this question about this. Because I know we talk a lot about the mentality part.
Yeah.
Him being a barber, business owner.
Yeah.
Me more focused on different things, you know?
Mentality is a huge thing.
Yeah, but I want you to think about the criticism in the sense where, like, you mentioned something, you start to not give a fuck.
Yeah.
For anybody that's watching or listening, how does that look like? Like, I could easily be like, you know, I don't give a fuck what anybody says.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I'm guilty of this, where I do kind of give a fuck about what's
No, yeah, it's back and forth, for sure.
Yeah. But when it comes down to the subjective, like you said, you know you're a good artist because you said so. Right? Yeah. I have no real input in that because now it's subjective to you. Like, I could listen to a track and, oh, you know, that was okay. Mm-hmm. To you, that could have been great.
Yeah.
What's the process look like though? That mentality shift where you don't give a fuck, but then you consistently don't give a fuck, but in a respectful way where it's like, not screw the world, but it's like, this is my shit. I'm my biggest critic. What does that process look like to you?
For me, when it comes to everyone else, it's me like minding my own business. Mm-hmm. That person can think whatever they want to think. That person can have their own opinions. Like, that's cool. That's them. You know what I mean? Yeah. This is me. So if I'm happy with the music that I'm making, I already won. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. Mm-hmm. But I mean, yeah. I mean, it's really simple. It's not, but it is. You know what I mean? Because it's just like, oh, I can just not give a fuck. But at the same time, when you're overthinking all that stuff, it's like, oh, how do I not care? And like all this stuff. So it's easy to get, you know, it's easy for somebody's opinion to get to you, but at the same time, you have to ground yourself and kind of just be like, no, like, you know what this is. That person doesn't know you, doesn't know your struggle, doesn't know what you've been through, doesn't know the work that you've put in and how many hours that you put into all this stuff. So it's like, as long as you got it, I mean, that's all that really matters, you know.
Is that something you guys share? Like, how do you kind of deal with that the beats, because you know,
Yeah.
without a beat, you don't have a song.
Exactly,
Without without the lyrics, you know,
yeah.
it's not a song. So what did that journey look for you? Like where you don't necessarily put too much value on other people's opinion. You're doing your job.
Yeah, it's kind of like the same thing he's saying. You know, you kind of just develop it over time. You know, like of course, like I was trash when I first started out, but it's like you still gain confidence and you just like understand that like, all right, this is like where I'm at right now. Like, you know, I feel like this is dope as hell. You know, other people may not think that, but you know, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter as long as you know you're proud of what you're creating and you know you're proud of what you're making and putting out. That's just you gotta just kind of block everything else out. You know, it's hard, but I mean, you kind of just gotta develop it over time. It's something you gotta work on, constantly work on. I feel like.
Yo, real quick, I don't think he was trash when he first started out. This dude sends me beats, like some of the first beats he made, and I'm like, yo, why haven't you showed me this before? Like, it goes hard.
That's
like,
the thing too. Like, I'll fluctuate between like being hella cocky and like, man, like no one can touch me to being like.
that's an artist thing, though. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because like 1 second you're on top of the world, you're like, yo, this is the craziest shit ever, and then like the next day you're like, dude, this fucking sucks. Yeah. Like this is like it just sucks. So.
Yeah. Do you feel that way sometimes? Like, can you relate to that in the sense of like from the barber perspective? Where there's some days, yeah, you know, like I know what I'm good at this, but I'm also, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for sure. Like, everybody thinks they're the best at what they do, and you know their own opinion. Mm-hmm. It's always good to take, you know, somebody else's criticism. Yeah. But stay true to yourself. You know what I mean? Yeah. You just stay true to what you think you're good at, because that's what makes you. You know, you're unique. Everybody else is different, and that's what makes you stand out sometimes. You know.
But that's exactly why it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
because you are you, and that person is that person.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it doesn't matter what that person thinks or says.
Exactly.
As long as you're doing you, I mean that's what it is.
I want to go back to what you said. Like you know, you said you were trash, right?
Yeah.
We'll put that in quotes, trash. Now I want to go back to that because let's suppose you did believe in that.
Yeah.
That you're actually telling yourself in your mind like I'm trash. You know, I don't think I like this because I'm convincing myself I'm trash.
Exactly.
How did you guys overcome that? Or in the sense where, like, I'm not saying you were actually trash, but personally yourself, like, you're your own biggest critic.
I still deal with that. Like,
Definitely,
like
so,
100%. Like what you said, like when we're in the studio, like they think it's good, and then I'm over here like, dude, it doesn't hit. Like that's not what it is, and they're just like, dude, what are you talking about? I don't hear it, and I'm like, yo, because I hear everything, like my voice, my vocals, like I hear the standard, like where I want it to be, and they hear just for what it is. You know what I mean? So like I'm over here like, yo man, it could go hard, but he's like, yo, it already does. You know.
I guess what my question is more like, how do you control the fact that, because those thoughts can lead to like, you know what, fuck this music shit, I'm done with it.
Yeah.
How do you overcome that? Meaning like you're gonna get, you know, you're gonna hear your voice like it's not there. He's gonna tell you like, bro, it's fire, but you're like, nah, bro, I could do better. But that could infiltrate your thought process in the sense like, you know what, bro, why are we putting too much time into this if, you know, I'm not feeling it no more? How do you overcome that? How do you get over that leap? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like it's a constant process. It's like almost like a constant battle within yourself just to like try and block those negative thoughts out. Because I mean, it's natural to like doubt yourself, you know, especially when you're putting stuff out, you're putting your own art out there. Like those feelings are like always come back. I always feel like. But it's literally you just always got to work on it. I feel like it's something you always just kind of like, nah, man, like it's good. Like just try your best to like rationalize it as like, you know, like it doesn't matter. You know, just keep doing, just keep grinding, just keep pursuing. Like, that's at least for me. You know, it's still like a constant battle for me. Like I'm in my head a lot, so I'm always trying to just like block those things out and just keep on my mission and just keep going. You know.
Definitely.
Yeah, like I never really think in that sense. Like it's like quitting's never really an option. You know what I mean? Like I've been doing this since I was 14. I'm 21 right now. Like, and I still don't ever really see myself stopping. Music's just kind of my way of expressing myself and like putting everything that I'm going through into a recording or you know lyrics and all that stuff. So it's like I can be in like the worst mood and then I record for like 5-10 minutes or whatever, and then I'm super energetic. I'm like happy. So you know what I mean? It makes me more of myself. So if I don't do it, then I kind of, in a way, lose myself.
Of course.
You know?
No, yeah, I definitely understand that.
Yeah.
Now, listening to your mixtape, bro, like I want to stay on that topic because I feel like one of the things that's coming into my mind right now is the word vulnerability. Because I feel like artists, this is why it's so hard to be an artist at times, because you have to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
In releasing your stuff, because there's a certain message within your music. listening to your mixtape and when you started dropping like certain songs and singles and explaining like this, I wrote this back when I was this age, like I was going through this. I like that.
Thank you for catching that, by the way.
Yeah. How was it, looking back at the process of making that mixtape? Did you feel vulnerable when you made that song? Did you feel like you were put back in that situation so you could hear it in your voice, like, damn, this guy's spitting like from that experience?
100%. So basically, when I wrote Homage, it was at like a very low point for me because like my first girlfriend just broke up with me. It's like, oh my god, the world's over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like the first track, like you hear what I was going through with the intro 1 year. So like you hear like the heartbreak and all that stuff, but you also get into like insecurities and all the stuff throughout the album and dreams. You know what I mean? But I mean, I never really thought about it like putting myself like in that situation. I more so just wrote it just to make myself feel better, and it turned out to be a really good song. You know what I mean? So it's just like I just do it for myself first and foremost, and then put it out for other people who are feeling that same way. But vulnerability is like a huge thing though. You have to be vulnerable as an artist. Like people need to feel what you're going through because there's so many people out there that also relate. So yeah.
How would you describe vulnerability in your subjective viewpoint in the sense where like, what does that mean to you? Because I think there's a general definition to vulnerability, but what does it mean to you guys?
Just putting myself out there, you know what I mean? Like it's easy to not let those emotions out and easy to like not tell people what's going on, but like when you do, it just makes everything a little bit better for you and just so people like know what's going on as well.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? So I have like what was it called? Airplane mode?
Yeah.
That's the name of it right now. It's the title of it right now. It could change, who knows? But it's a song that we wrote, and it was probably my most personal song that I've ever written.
You would say that's your most personal song?
Yeah. So it's coming out probably next year, the year after. It really depends. We have so much music in the works, but it's definitely gonna come out. That's for sure. But it's me like just putting my heart out on the page and just like writing. It was about like me, my mentality, my family, just everything on my mind, you know what I mean? Like making it, you know what I mean, blowing up. So yeah, man, like vulnerability is a huge thing, but it's very important to do that, to put yourself out there and like write about it, especially as an artist.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's what I like about the artistry of it, because it's the vulnerability, because it's your voice. You're trying to convey something. Now, how do you describe your process in the sense like you have music in the stash that you just don't drop?
Yeah.
Is there a reason for that?
So much
I've always
music.
wondered that because, for example, one of the artists I can think of right now, or two artists, is like, or three: Gucci Mane, Young Thug, and like 03 Greedo.
Dope.
They drop music like crazy, and a lot
like
of people
every day, like it's crazy.
A lot of people criticize them in the sense where like quality over quantity and vice versa, right?
Yeah.
They're putting out quantity. And they're putting out tapes all the time. I want you to discuss that after the break. So I kind of want to piggyback off of that, and then we'll discuss that because I want to see what your guys' input is on that.
Definitely.
Like, why do artists have in the stash, and then maybe like 2 years from now they'll pull it out and like finally drop it? So we're gonna take a little break right now, but I want to piggyback off of that when we get back. So I hope you guys are enjoying the show so far. I'm liking what the conversation we're having, the thought process, the mentality, and the background on how the music started with these two. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. All right, guys, welcome back. We're back from our short little break. Got to just digest and discuss what the first part that we had with Vision and Adrian. So what we left off talking about, bro, was the whole concept of holding music in the stash, And I mentioned these three artists, Gucci Mane, Young Thug, and 03 Greedo, who are type of artists who are releasing music on top of music on top of music. So it's almost like you don't get to enjoy it, but I want to get your viewpoint on that, on why you hold music off and like the whole idea of quality over quantity.
Yeah, no. For me, it's always been about strategizing.
Okay.
So like that's why like I didn't show anybody my music when I first started rapping, so that when I did, it's like legit and people are like, oh snap, people take notice. You know what I mean? So it's the same concept when it comes to projects or singles or whatever. You want to focus on making it good, so that when it comes out, people take notice. You know what I mean? So it's like we have so many songs in the stash. Like we can release so much right now, but you know what I mean? It's better to strategize and kind of figure out what works best. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
What's the next move and all that. But it's more so just really making sure that everything is on point. You know what I mean? Because if it's not on point, then we fucked up. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, so like it's just about like when we release Homage, like it's thinking about what's the next move from there. So we can release a project in a month or two, or we can release a project in the next year or a year and a half or whatever it is. So it's just strategizing.
Now, has that always been instilled in you? On, like, for example, right now you mentioned that when you made this mixtape, you're already thinking of the next move. How? Because I have my own viewpoint on that, but how do you discuss or describe it to your own way? Where is that good or bad? Where you're already thinking of the next move? Because some people might take it as like, focus on this right now. Don't worry about what's next.
Yeah.
But then there's also people who say it's like, no, focus on this right now, but also think of what the next move after that is, because you're not done. So how did that start, that mentality?
So I'm just a thinker in general. Okay. Sometimes I overthink myself into the ground. But when it comes to something like that, it's more so just really just laying it down. You know what I mean? Like a lot of artists are really good at like putting out songs every single day and just not caring. I care too much, so it's like I make sure that it's one step after the other. I finish this and then I do that, but I also have ideas as to what the next thing could be. But when we're done with this, that's when we put those ideas into fruition.
Is that the same with production? Very similar?
Yeah, in a way. I mean, when I make beats, like I'll finish it and I'll just send them out to like whoever I think can fit on it. So I don't necessarily like keep it in the stash, but like I have things that I have samples, you know, like I like making beats off samples as well. So like I'll see like a sample or whatever and I'll be like, oh, I can use that later, you know, but as far as just making beats, I'll just kind of make it and then send it out to whoever I think can fit on it.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a different process because, you know, like you got to put a song together first. So like it's not like just getting it out there, I think is at least sending it to someone is like more important. That's the first step, you know?
Yeah.
And the artist can decide like what to do with it.
What happens.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed, I don't know if you guys agree, is that the reason you guys feel like you guys have the same vision and towards the same goals, is that why you guys are able to collaborate so seamlessly?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
like don't get me wrong, we have not necessarily different tastes in music, but we're influenced by different things. Yeah. So it's like, but when we come together, we're able to, in a way, like come to an agreement, like musically, like creatively in a way. And then we're just able to just bust stuff out. Like his production, like I've seen him make beats in like 10, 20 minutes.
Yeah,
and it's like fire, like it's so good. You know what I mean? But for me, as a lyricist, it takes a little bit of time to really get it going. But like one time we made what was it, Sat at Home?
Yeah,
like we made that in like half an hour, somewhere around there. Like there's times where you just bust stuff out. Yeah, it really varies. Yeah.
Definitely. So now, like I really like that, because I noticed that from you guys. You guys, in order to work, you guys are working towards the same goal. Yeah. But you guys also influence. You guys bring different things to the table.
Yeah, 100%.
Now I want to kind of shift to more like the personal background stuff, man. Like specifically, in hindsight, I like asking these type of questions. In hindsight, looking at yourself growing up, what was instilled in you that you still carry now, and that you are still developing? Does that make sense? In the sense, like, look back when you were a kid, like, man, I still have that trait that helped me. It's just a more mature mindset.
Oh yeah, no, I've always been myself, 100%. Like I still laugh at like the same jokes that like the homies make. Like I've always just been myself. So I mean, nothing's really changed. If anything, I've just learned, I've grown and matured. You know what I mean? Like that's just really it, and that's what I always plan to do. I always plan to keep the real ones around me. Like my circle's really small. Like I don't really go out like and try to like connect with all these people, which I do need to change, but like the career aspect of shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, the circle's just always been small, and so I just keep it real. We keep it 100, and we just. For me, I plan on being myself. It's just authenticity to me is just one of the most important things.
So that's something you kind of look back on, and like in retrospect, like, oh, that's something I've always.
Yeah, I just always
myself.
100%.
Is there something that you've changed that you feel proud of that's allowed you to?
The negative, for sure. Like
How
I've
to
definitely
deal with negative?
Yeah, 100%. Like when it comes to like the first track on the project, like the
I
breakup
really like
and all
that
that.
song.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So with 1 year, it was about like the breakup and stuff. Like I made my like fair share of mistakes and all that stuff. But I mean, as long as you learn and you grow, you know what I mean? Like everybody's capable of making mistakes. Like it's all good as long as you overcome it, you know?
Are you trying to say like it's how you kind of deal with the mistakes?
100%, because you can easily just be like, oh, I made that mistake. I messed up. Let me just keep messing up. It doesn't matter anymore. You know what I mean? But I mean, if you want to better yourself, it's the opposite. You know what I mean? You just want to get better.
Of course, I like that. But I agree in the sense where I think failing is definitely part of the process. It's a given, but it's also knowing how to deal with failure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is there something you want to add?
I just wanted to add because I haven't heard your music, bro.
Yeah, no.
So like from my point of view, is like, what are you trying to share like on your music? Because I haven't heard it. So what are
Like
you trying
the
to share?
message and all that
Yeah,
stuff?
the message. And
It's
stuff.
really just right now. So far, it's just been the fun shit. But really, it's just about inspiring people. You know what I mean? Like when I get up on a record, like I want to make something that sparks something in someone else. You know what I mean? It's about creativity and it's about progression. You know, like I want to push hip hop. You know what I mean? I don't want to make what everybody else is making. I want to expand and see where it can go. I'm that kind of artist, you know what I mean, creatively. Like I want to try different things. So right now it's more, since nobody really knows who I am at the moment, it's more so about just getting people to realize like, yo, I make music and I'm good at this. But as we progress, you know what I mean, then you can start doing the things that you want to do creatively. And so like ASAP Rocky, like his newest one, Testing, like that one, he was trying to like push boundaries, and it sounds so different. It kind of went under the radar because like everyone was like, oh, that's really different. But then people gave it a few months, and then it was like, oh, like this is actually a really, really good album. So I mean, it really just depends. But that's what I try to do. I just try to inspire people, uplift people, just relate to people. You know what I mean? Because that's what it really is. It's about the people, not necessarily myself. It's like, as a career though, of course, like this is you. But when I'm making music, also it's for me. But when I put it out, it's also for everybody else that can relate.
And who is one artist that you would say like, oh, that's? I mean, I'm sure there's a couple, you know.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
But
like,
who's one in specific? First one off the top of your head.
Mac Miller. So that's the homie. So he's literally the reason I started rapping.
Rest in peace.
100%, 100%. So he's the reason I started rapping. Like my first rap that I wrote was to the Party on Fifth Ave instrumental. You know what I mean? Like that dude has influenced me in so many ways. And like he was just a good dude. You know what I mean? So that's the type of music that I want to create, the type of person I want to be. Like he just inspired me in so many ways. Like him and Logic was a big one when he was on his mixtape shit. J. Cole, because he's just so humble. YBN Cordae is like a new school cat. Like that dude is good. You know what I mean? Like there's so many different artists, but just to name a few.
Definitely. And kind of speak on that topic on especially the music side, especially now in the age of social media, because now the market's a lot bigger. You know,
right.
A lot of people could be making music. But it's like, you know, kind of sticking on the music side. After, you know, we'll shift back. But how do you plan, or what's your strategy? Because you mentioned strategy to stand out. Is it just simply by inspiring, or is it
inspiring, but also just being myself? Because a lot of artists aren't themselves. Like, and it's not. I don't mean that in like a bad way. I mean that in like it's transparent. It's very see-through. A lot of artists, like they make the same music and they act the same way. So it's like, how do you plan on standing out in the industry if that's what you do? For me, it's more about being myself and being authentic and really just talking to people, because like I can talk, I can inspire people like very, very well. Like I can be like a fucking motivational speaker if I wanted to. You know what I mean? Like I'm able to do that, and when I get on stage and I'm comfortable, then I can just talk and just inspire people. Like remember, we rapped on the bus one time. It was on the way to Disneyland for grad trip, which was horrible, but we'll talk about that another time. But we rapped on the bus, and then I was just like talking to everyone. I was just like, he was just this dude was gonna freestyle. Do you remember that? This dude was gonna freestyle, and then he was just like, oh no, like I can't. And I was just like, yo, what are you doing? And I was like, I tried to like get him to, and I was just like talking about him. I was like, yo, if Eminem stopped, he wouldn't be where he is. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's about constantly going and just
consistency.
Yeah, but mainly just being myself. That's how I plan to stand out. You know, so it's just. That's really what it is, and just making good music, because this dude's, his beats are so unique too. So it's just a matter of just coming together and just getting that shit going.
Definitely, no, I like that. I want to talk about family, man. I always tend to lean towards family because I think that's a big influence, positively and also negatively.
Yeah.
It's a very thin line where we could talk about that. But how was your upbringing, man? Like I want to start off with you, like your upbringing in the sense, like for example, you mentioned earlier that your dad made music, right? He had GarageBand on his computer. That kind of like started that. But aside from that, how was the upbringing, bro? And like, what can you take? We'll call it like a nugget from your childhood and growing up that you have still applied now that you might not have understood back then.
Yeah, I mean, I've been blessed to like have a pretty fortunate life. My parents had me when they were older and like already had their careers. So like financially, we were always pretty good, But I think something they always instilled with me was like hard work. My dad came from Mexico, so immigrant, working in the fields, worked his way up, go to school, become a Spanish professor. My mom, same way. She's been here, and like her whole family's born in Hollister. Like almost everyone's my cousin here. But like like her parents worked hard too, and like were able to set her up, to go to college, and like both my parents worked really hard, and they always instilled that in me, like just to work hard, not be like just take things for granted, because it's easy to like grow up and like have a nice house and nice family and just be like, oh, this is just how shit like stuff is. But being around like other family members and like other friends, just to see how like, oh, everyone's not as fortunate as me or whatever, like has the same upbringing. So just being able to like understand that, just take all that in, and then just always use it as a reminder just to work hard and just persevere, just kind of always grind.
100%. I feel the same way. Like we're both very fortunate to have lived like really good lives, because there are a lot of people that are going through a lot. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's the same kind of thing with me. There wasn't too much of a struggle. Thankfully. But there was really, it was a good childhood. You know what I mean? My parents did the best that they could, and they taught me a lot. You know what I mean? When it came to just like being a person and everything. Like the one golden nugget that I can say is just to be a good person. You know what I mean? Which is, it's very easy. You know what I mean? But I mean, we're only human. We get frustrated. We get angry. You know what I mean? Like, but the main thing is just to be a good person. Just as long as your intentions are good, I mean, it's all good.
Based on what you guys both said, pretty much the fact that your parents, have put you in a position where the struggle wasn't necessarily a thing, right?
Right.
However, struggle I think is very subjective because you could be put into a good household, or what's characterized as a good household.
Right. Yeah.
But I think struggle also comes with inside anxiety, depression, stuff like that. How do you? I don't want to say how do you argue with someone who. I kind of want to say, how do you counter-argue someone when they tell you, like, for example, I look at you, Adrian, like, you've had an easy your whole life, bro. I've gone through some shit that you would never understand. However, your goal is to simply understand that person, even though you didn't go through those tribulations. Have you guys faced that before?
Yeah, in a way, like, you're saying someone, like, combating you, just like...
Suppose we all have different types of friends, right? We have, I'll be a little personal about this. I have friends who have had it better than me their whole entire lives. I've had friends who have it a lot worse. I could relate it to you in the sense about being fortunate. I'll put that in quotes because that can mean very subjective. A lot of things are subjective,
definitely,
right? But fortunate in the sense where, like, I didn't really know the struggle financially. My parents did what they did, right? But how, for example, I could talk to a buddy of mine who's really been through the struggle, and I could be talking, and he might just be, not on purpose, but subconsciously just be kind of mad at the fact that you don't get it, bro, because you never really went through the shit that I've been through. But then I'm the type of person like, well, I want to understand you.
Exactly.
But some people like that might be defensive, like, nah, bro, you won't ever understand.
But that's also mentality as well. You know what I mean? Like, because that's the thing. Like, there are people that have it horrible. Like say like a homeless man on the street. You know what I mean? Who doesn't have anything. But there's also a homeless man on the street who's the happiest person in the world, because it's all about your mentality. You know what I mean? Like as long as you're looking forward and things are gonna get better, then for sure. You know what I mean? But I do get it though, because a lot of the time it's like, how can things get better? Like, look where I'm at and all this stuff. So there's definitely a fine line, but at the end of the day, I think mentality is a huge thing. You know what I mean? Because that's what will get you out of any situation.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But let's suppose I just want to get really into like your whole process in the sense where, like, let's suppose you tell that to the person that is looking at your face.
They're like, fuck you.
It's all about, exactly.
They get all defensive.
Exactly. It's all about mentality.
Yeah.
Like, oh, dude, you would not be talking about mentality if you had it like I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then again, bro, some of the best success stories are those people
That have gone through the struggle.
You've gone through so much shit. You know, there's people I aspire to be like, bro. And
Right.
their stories are gnarly, man.
Mhm.
Yeah. So when it comes to at least my situation, I don't know if I can speak on A-Diz, but when it comes to me, it's like the struggle hasn't been too crazy. There's definitely been some things here and there, 100%. Like, we're only human, you know. But for me, it's more so my head. You know what I mean? I get a lot of anxiety. I get very nervous. You know what I mean? So it's just like a struggle in making sure that I'm okay. You know what I mean? But that also goes back to what I was saying before, like bettering yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I make sure that like I meditate. I make sure that I eat. Like I make sure that I'm like on point. You know what I mean? Because if I'm not, then my life isn't. Because the mentality's not there, and I think everything sucks.
Definitely.
So if I'm not making music, like I was saying before, like I'm not me. You know what I mean? And it just kind of fucks everything up. So.
Yeah.
For me, it's just a struggle with my mind, but as long as I'm on top of that, then I mean, it's all good.
Definitely. No, I appreciate you guys explaining like the
Yeah.
process, because I think that's another big thing too, especially when you network and
Yeah.
when you want to share inspiration. Like my goal as well as OD is like inspire other people, right?
100%.
But sometimes they want to know like, well, how did you find your inspiration? Or what was your background? Because why is it so easy for you to say? You know, that's a struggle, man. A struggle now, especially with all the social media stuff, where it's easy to convey a message, but conveying is just the first part. You know, how people digest it and how people interpret it is a whole different level.
Right.
So, was that something like for example, like going back to the family part, was that something that your family instilled subconsciously maybe by supporting you guys? Do they support you now? What's their whole vision on you guys making music, especially as a career?
What do you think?
Like my family supporting me? Yeah, I think, well, music's always been a thing in my family. Like my grandpa was in the mariachi. My dad like, my dad like messes with music. My mom used to mess with music like growing up. So like they seen me like get into it as a kid, you know, and like they'd always like support me. Like they bought me like a little piano or like a little guitar, because you know I'd always loved just like listening or ask my dad like, oh, what's this, you know. So I was always into music, so they've always like supported me and like want me to you know, pursue it, you know, as long as like I'm realistic about it and like they see me put the work in, you know, they know like this is what I love. So therefore like they definitely support me, and you know, just they think like, yeah, man, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do, you know.
Definitely. You kind of have the same.
Yeah, 100%. My parents are very supportive, you know what I mean? But when it comes to me wanting to do it for a career, it's kind of hard to support that in a way, because it's like nobody knows if it's gonna happen. Like even like say like someone like Jay-Z, like back in the day, there's no way he could have known where it would be. There's no way he could have known that all of this was gonna transpire. So it's in a way risky, but at the same time, it's not if you know what you're doing, if you know that you're good at it and you keep working at it. You know what I mean? So it is, but it's not. It's risky, man. But no, there's definitely support though, 100%.
Sorry to cut you off, bro, but your last message, man.
Yeah.
Last message.
Like, what's
before
your
we
last?
end this, you know?
Yeah, I want to have you guys back again.
Yeah,
continue the
100%. I'm down.
Any last words you want to say? A message? Anything?
Anybody watching this might want to be doing music, producing.
I got beats, man. Hit me up.
Hey, where can they hit you up?
You already know my Instagram. I'm sure they tagged me or whatever. So just hit me up. I got that. Got the fire.
Yeah, there you guys have it. Another successful heist. I appreciate you guys coming through, man.
Cool.
Sharing your guys' voice and you know this purpose, accepting the purpose of this platform we're building.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, real quick, and y'all can follow me at Vision Music 831 on all platforms, at SoundCloud, Instagram, Facebook. So hit me up, and we're all good.
All right, there you guys have it. Enjoy.